Chums, welcome back to a Game with Chums podcast. I'm your host for this week, Paulie C, Paulie B, Paulie, the artist formerly known as Paulus. Yeah.
As you could just pick one, you know.
I got to go under many aliases, man, to keep the cops off my back, you know what I mean?
Living in the hood.
Living in the hood with my, literally the hood is my bed's up. Keep the cops from scanning my house. I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, as you can hear, with me is my co-host and ever cynical and narcissistic and Ponzi.
Wow, just hitting all the low lights.
Yeah, the glorious, glamorous Mr. Ross. Mr. Ross, how you doing?
How do? I'm all right. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. As you can see, my bed's up because my cat's underneath my bed. He's just decided to, as soon as I lifted my ottoman bed up, he would just sit there and sleep. So left it up there. So yeah, that's
it doesn't fall down on him.
Nah, it's well, if he does, then God bless you, Gigi. You made your choice. But yeah, we got a few things to talk about this week, Mr. Ross. Obviously, we'll do a quick how are you? How you doing? Good?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Well, we can.
Off work, so that's nice.
We're gonna complain, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to because it's what we do, but
yeah.
Generally, I can't complain.
I know what you've been up to because we spent like a few days in each other's company. One for your birthday, which I still haven't sent your birthday present to. Good friend of me. And also we went to see Electric Callboy with some chums. Very good. Your first time seeing them. What did you think?
Yeah, they were really good.
Good
live show. This whole stage show and production and everything was really good.
Yeah.
Video screens and everything.
Flames and everything. Germans love flamethrowers.
Flames. It was just a really good show, and they brought the energy that we didn't really feel like we had because we were all slightly hungover.
Yeah. They're good live act. No, not my favorite band, but a band I would always have time to if they play again in the UK, I would go and see because they put on a hell of a show, and some of their songs are so like
get you pumped up,
get you going. Yeah, they got some good tracks on there. But yeah. Anyway, we got some things to talk about, Mr. Ross, and we're going to start off. I mean, it's been it's in the news. We're a bit behind on that, but seems like Xbox can't catch a break for this last month. Has not been good for them. Specifically, we're going to start off by talking about the UK government. It's not the UK government. It's the regulatory system in the UK, which is called the CMA,
Competition and Markets Authority.
They blocked the deal for the Activision merger, which came as a surprise. Everyone thought, because it was going through other regulatory departments in other countries and regions. I mean, I think they cleared 9 by the time it came to the UK, and then the UK just said no. And no, specifically for their cloud gaming, which was one of their main concern.
This is why it surprised everyone, because the whole thing, I mean, the cloud was always a thing they sort of identified as a potential issue, but like all the attention was on like the potential impact in the console market, and like a week or two before they announced their verdict, they dropped the console concern entirely. No, we don't think they have any reason to withhold these games from other platforms. It'd probably do them more harm than good, which it probably would have done. Call of Duty is so big because it's on everything and everyone can easily get it. So kind of locking it down to one platform, especially the weaker of the two sort of main console platforms that can run Call of Duty, would probably just damage the brand. So they dropped that entirely, and everyone was like, oh, okay, well, cloud clearly isn't a big deal. No one really gives a shit about cloud, so I guess this is going to sail through. And then they were just like blocked because Microsoft might control a cloud market that doesn't yet exist, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, I can understand where the concerns are coming from, because cloud is going to be running on like data centers, that Microsoft have their own data center infrastructure. A lot of them are going to be running on Windows, which Microsoft owns. So I can kind of understand the concern, but then like Windows is a pretty open platform. At this point, it's so entrenched that you're not really going to get people to move away from it anyway. People have been trying for years. Like Linux is like a fraction of the market. Mac is like, I don't know, like 10, 12%, I think, of like the OS market. Windows is just where it is. So kind of dinging them for that feels a bit silly, because that's where a lot of people build their business anyway. Like, I mean, the UK government runs on Windows and Microsoft services. So it seems a bit of a strange one to me. They come out and block it, and their reasoning is that cloud might be very important in the future, but it isn't now. Right now, it's like 1% of the games industry. So I think nobody kind of expected that to happen.
Yeah, it came as a bit of a shock, especially like Xbox have made deals with Nvidia to put their games on their cloud service. So it's a surprise. I mean, I could still see it going through, even though we've made it clear that I'm not really a big fan of the merger. I think Microsoft could do with focusing their attention on other studios or publishers, because it's kind of more of the same, with Activision. I think they got most of those games covered, I think, anyway. Obviously you got Call of Duty on there.
Most of those games, most of what they make is Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's very samey. So I kind of feel like they should, if they're going to go for something big, they should go for a publisher of a more of a varied sort of catalog of titles. But yeah, I mean, there's an appeal process, and Microsoft have made like sort of passive aggressive remarks to the UK government about the future of like Microsoft in the UK, and which I'm not a big fan of, like that sort of passive aggressiveness, but I can see from a business standpoint, and we're like, well, you blocked it, so what are we going to do business here with the UK? We'll take our business to other parts of Europe, and so that's not great. I mean, we're already on shaky ground with Brexit. We don't need a behemoth like Microsoft. Like, sort of, people will say, "Oh, that's very petty of them." Well, it's business, man. Business it's been like that, and it's not great. I don't agree with it, but that's how it is. That's business. Business is like I always say, business is cutthroat. So I can see them like maybe subtly pulling out offices from, because they have a place in Reading, just outside of London. They got a big office there. Who knows, man? That could be gone if this deal doesn't go through.
I mean, I've seen a lot of chatter from people on forums and stuff about, oh, they should just close the transaction and then just pull out of the UK entirely. I'm like, they're not going to pull out of the UK entirely. They make fucking God knows how much money here. And yes, if they did that, it would massively harm this country, especially like basically the government is basically running on their services. But then what kind of message does that send? If we don't get our way, we'll cripple your government, essentially. But they're not going to pull out. They're not going to pull their products and services out of the UK. What they might do is just not invest anything they might have been planning to. Like, say they were planning on like opening something new in the UK, they might look elsewhere, which is still going to be damaging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're not going to pull their products out of the UK. That's just stupid.
I mean,
suggesting that and not being realistic.
This ties into what the discussion we're going to have today is, because Phil Spencer was on a podcast recently. Was it Easy? Do you remember then the YouTube
Kind
channel?
of Funny Xcast?
Yeah.
Which was yesterday as we're recording this.
He did a very honest interview, a very honest take. I think he spoke about the UK government, or UK CMA blocking at the Xbox deal, and he obviously said we're going to appeal, and he's still pretty confident it's going to go through. So they're going to make concessions to sort of please the regulatory panel. So I can see it still going through. But like I said, I still think they should I mean, they should probably focus on another publisher with more varied games, but they've gone too far now. They got to see it through to the end. I mean, if they have to make more concessions, with the cloud, then that's going to have to be. But I think it will go through. But yeah, not as the original deal that they were intending. They still got to go through the EU, which I see should go through. I mean, they got a good relationship with Europe, and it's the US one is probably a big one, but I've already seen that should go through. Not
That
to
won't go through. They're going to have to take them to court.
yeah. Do you reckon?
The FTC has opened up an administrative complaint to block it.
Have they?
But
Oh.
the reason they've done that is because they know, like, if they actually want to block it, they need to file an injunction in
Mhm.
federal court, I think,
Mhm.
is what the process would have to be. And they haven't done that because they know they don't have a case to win. So all they're doing is they've filed like a administrative complaint, and it goes to their own administrative law judge in house at the FTC. But
Mhm.
then they just kick the can down the road. So they're basically what they're doing at the moment is just stalling, hoping the parties just hoping it either gets blocked in another jurisdiction like it has with the UK, in which case it's effectively dead. Obviously they're going to appeal it, but if the appeal doesn't, if the appeal comes back to the same thing, then the deal's dead anyway. If the EC block it as well, it's dead. So the FTC's just basically kicked the can down the road and hoped other jurisdictions kill the deal. And then if it passed through everyone else, Microsoft could close over the FTC and then force them to file an injunction and then win in court, which is what the sort of received wisdom seems to be is what would happen. But CMA blocking it has kind of virtually killed the deal at this point. It's apparently there's very little chance of winning an appeal with the CMA because it goes to competitions tribunal. I can't remember CAT. I can't remember what the A stands for. It goes to their own sort of internal tribunal, and they'll only kick it back down to the CMA to take another look if there's mistakes that have been made, like procedural mistakes. So if all their numbers are fine, they'll just go, no, it's fine.
Mm.
If there is an issue with the numbers, it gets kicked back to the same group to look at again,
Mm.
and they could just fix their numbers and go, no, we still think it's bad. We're still blocking it. So I think people are giving Microsoft like a 10% chance of getting this through at this point. So I just have to see what happens. I remember they said it could take up to 3 years to like go through the whole appeal process, which is not a kind of thing I think most Xbox fans want to put up with at this point. Because I think a lot of people feel like they've become kind of transfixed on this thing and kind of dropping the ball elsewhere. Like they kind of asleep at the wheel in other terms. And I can kind of see where people are coming from because, there's been like few announcements of games coming out recently that are just on everything except Xbox. I mean, even if it's like something nobody really gives a shit about, like an Inspector Gadget game, it still doesn't look great. Like continuing poor relations with publishers like Square Enix, Redfall, as we're going to talk about, coming out broken. So yeah, I can understand why people are thinking this has taken up too much of their attention and they just kind of want it over with.
Mm. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I kind of feel like they have sort of focused too much attention on this Activision acquisition. I mean, everyone just wanted it just to be done, and this is just put another roadblock in the whole saga. We just wouldn't like get it done, or have the deal die, so Xbox can sort of focus their attention on making other deals with other third-party publishers, because the only ones who lose out is the Xbox fan base, you know, and you obviously like with a lot of games being announced from Square that have just skipped Xbox entirely. I mean, like if you play on other platforms, then it's not a big deal. But if you primarily play on Xbox, it's kind of like a big deal because it's just like you're missing out, and they're missing. Not only Xbox. but also the percentage of the player base is missing out. But yeah, who knows, man? Like this is dragging on a bit. Kind of wish that it would just like that either Xbox will just kill it or just like we just get it done because it's just like we got other things to what we want to look forward to from Xbox. You know, not with this, not just with Activision Blizzard. Kind of like we want to see what else they got cooking because they got a showcase in June the 11th, I believe, which
Yeah, just
is
a month away now.
yeah, it's just sort of come out. That got announced a week ago, I think, and it's an Xbox One, and then straight after that you got a Starfield showcase. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Hopefully, we'll do a live stream of that because I think it's on a Sunday, so we can do a
It
live
is,
stream of
yeah.
that, one little watch along, and can watch that. So
I think it's 5 p.m. UK time on the Sunday, so it's not too bad.
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
Edwin, I remember back when all the E3 showcases used to be all like on the same couple of days, and Sony's always used to be at like 2 a.m.
Mm.
You should be like, oh man, do I want to stay up till nearly 4 to
Mm-hmm.
watch this thing?
Mm.
Yeah, Xbox at least usually does it at a pretty reasonable time for most people.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll move on from that because I think we can talk about that for talk about the blocked acquisition for a bit longer. But
We
we
could
got up,
waffle on about it for a while, but we're not lawyers, so
yeah.
just be kind of waffling on as laymen.
But Xbox had the highly anticipated Redfall released from the time of this recording, which was Monday or
Was it
Sunday.
that highly anticipated though?
It was getting some hype behind it, especially when PlayStation fans found out that there was a PlayStation version in development and that got canned and that got them riled up. Then we
Well, this
saw
is the thing.
some
I feel like a lot of the chatter around it has been fairly negative, even like straight from when it was released, and people were like, "Oh, Arcane making a Left 4 Dead clone," even though it clearly wasn't a Left 4 Dead clone. And then like continuing on from that, it's like, "Oh, it's just a Far Cry game. These devs are being wasted because this isn't what they do," which is a fair expectation. Is that the word? It's a fair kind of response to have when they're known for like making really complex immersive sims. Like I love the Dishonored games.
yeah, and
So I
Prey.
can understand people being disappointed that that's not what they were making.
Yeah, I mean, but like they this is another complaint about the Xbox about Redfall is that Phil Spencer is very hands off with other studios. He's letting them create what they want, and I heard a complaint saying, "Well, maybe Xbox or Phil Spencer should have been more hands on and sort of stepped in a bit more." But he clearly said that he wants the studios to have the freedom and to create what they want, and they want to be very hands off. They don't want to be the bad guys who come in and like say you got to make this game. They want the studios to
Yeah.
make a game they want to make.
Well, that's the thing. There's people have been saying over the last couple of days, oh, they should have just gone in and cancelled it when the acquisition closed. I'm like, oh yeah, that would be great for morale.
Mm,
And then like the first thing you do is like can the game they've been working on for like 4 years and tell them to start again.
yeah.
But I mean, there was an article from Jez Corden on Windows Central a few days ago, which really sort of kicked the hornet's nest because people didn't actually read it and just reacted to the headline, where he said that Microsoft basically weren't involved with Redfall, but they're getting the blame for it. And people saw the headline and thought, "Oh, here's Jez like trying to get Microsoft off the hook." It's part of Bethesda. Bethesda's part of Xbox, so of course they're culpable or whatever. But the crux of the article was basically that they were hands off with it. They didn't get involved with it, and they're getting the blame. And to be honest, they should get the blame because they need to be more hands on and they need to be kind of getting in there and helping these teams out. And I think if anyone had actually read the article, they'd probably agree with that sentiment and be like, yeah, they should kind of be like there's being hands on creatively and there's being hands on in like a kind of a support fashion, saying like, all right, what do you need? Do you need us to send some engineers out? Do you need us to like put this through a focus group or whatever? Don't necessarily have to be stamping all over the creative side of it, but the technical side they need to be supporting. And that's basically what Jez's article was about, and people just didn't read it and just immediately went off. And then in the Kind of Funny Xcast yesterday, Phil Spencer basically corroborated the whole article. It was like, yeah, we got in there and we didn't really get in there at ground level with like Harvey Smith and the team, and we really should have done that. And I'm like, yeah, that's basically what Jez's article was saying.
He said that he should have we should have because they had people who are more familiar with the Unreal Engine to help them. So
and they've got some
that was on
Unreal wizards at Xbox as well, like what Rare have done with Sea of Thieves and what the Coalition are doing with the Gears games. Unreal. But
it's kind of like they left sort of Redfall to their own thing, but they focused all their efforts on Starfield, which they said, Phil pretty much said they had.
Admitting that as well.
So that is a shame. I mean, the poor reviews or mixed reviews, because I think Metacritic is it on 65.
60, I think it's low 60s, like 62 or something like that.
It's the lowest rated Xbox game for the last few years. I mean, like if you look on Metacritic, like most of the games are in the 80s, and they've had one bad game, well, badly reviewed game come out, and it's like the end of the bloody world. I see a lot of people saying Phil should go, Phil Spencer should leave. I'm like, are you insane? You crazy? He's the reason Xbox still exists. One bad review, it's like the apocalypse has happened. People like dogs and cats are living together, sort of mass hysteria. It's absolutely insane. I was just like, wow, this is crazy. I feel bad for like every time Xbox they release a game, it gets good reviews. Not much is said apart from the Xbox fans saying, "Oh, look, Hi-Fi Rush, Halo Infinite when it came out got good reviews. You got the Age of Empires, good reviews. Psychonauts, I know that was multi-console, but good reviews.
Very good reviews.
Grounded, game, Grounded, Forza. So they had good reviews. And if you look at like their past few games that they released, Pentiment, it's got really good reviews. And this one game, because people have been talking about it a lot more, it's like the end of the world, the end of Xbox, and people just well, that's it for Xbox. I've given up, fuck it. And I'm just like, wow, Jesus Christ, like, come on, guys, it's like one game is like, yeah, well, it's it's a big exclusive. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's not great. We played it and we had some audio issues. Hopefully we can sort that out. We'll try to give it a go, because I've seen people playing it and they say, yeah, it's got some issues, but I'm having fun with it. It's something different. It's something good. I like it. It's fun. And other people are just like, no, hate the game. This game sucks. I mean, I've seen, from YouTube outlets like Skill Up, he's wording on there was, oh God, it's like, what did this game do to you? Did this game like hold you up in gunpoint and or like slept with your wife, or like run over your dog? It's like, damn. And it's like, holy shit. Some of the do you need a hug or something?
Sentiment is all over the place for it. I said the other day, like, I feel like it would be one of those games where like probably like a small handful of people just absolutely love it, and then like a lot of people hate it, and probably the biggest group of people are just like, don't really care. I feel like people that love it are going to end up like talking about it for years.
Yeah.
Even if they are a relatively small handful.
I don't see the Xbox abandoning the game. Phil says they're not. They're going to release updates for it. And
we know 60 FPS patch is coming at some point, and we know also there's DLC planned for it. There's meant to be 2 more characters at some point. So which you get with the deluxe edition.
I mean, hopefully, with games, it's not the first game that's launched poorly. I mean, we've did a podcast about it, our last one, about games being released in bad states. Obviously, you got placed
we didn't expect to have another one.
Yeah, you had the Last of Us 2 port. That was poor. Jedi 1, Last of Us 1 port came out poor.
I think we did this before Jedi Survivor came out, didn't we? So I mean, Jedi Survivor is kind of a mess as well.
mess. Apparently the PC one is a big pile of steaming shit.
Yeah, I was going to buy
PlayStation,
it on PC, and then all that came out, and on
PlayStation,
console, it's not amazing.
yeah, PlayStation 5 one is supposed to be pretty messy as well. I've not heard much about the Xbox one. Maybe that's running all right,
The
but
frame rate isn't
isn't great.
amazing. It's kind of anywhere between like 40 and 60 FPS in performance mode.
But like, still,
But it's not buggy or anything.
that game will
Playable.
game will probably get nominated for Game of the Year. No,
It is very good.
it's
I'm
very
going to be
good.
honest. It is a very, very good game.
Is
I mean, I'm biased anyway because I absolutely love Fallen Order, but I'm really, really
do
enjoying Jedi
do
Survivor.
you think
Issues aside,
do you think if Redfall didn't get released so close to Jedi Survivor, there'll be more of an issue about the performances on other platforms for that game? I feel
what
like
Jedi Survivor?
yeah, I feel like because of Redfall got released, so to
Yeah,
put
it's probably
mixed
taken
movies.
some of the
Yeah,
focus
I
off
feel
of
like it has.
Jedi Survivor a bit, but I mean,
Mm.
Digital Foundry put out a video on Jedi Survivor called like the worst AAA PC port in years or something like that. So I mean, it was getting a bit savaged, and
What worse than The Last of Us Part One?
um, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, the stuff I've seen of the PC performance of Jedi Survivor looks about on par with The Last of Us on PC, but The Last of Us looks way buggier to me.
Mm.
But that all turned into memes after about 2 days, whereas some games don't get that.
Yeah,
Don't get that.
it's
I think of the
yeah,
word I'm looking for.
don't get that criticism.
No, they don't. They don't. They aren't afforded that kind of let off. I guess like people were
Mm.
like, "Oh, the Last of Us one is a mess," and then it was memes, and then everyone's like, "Ha funny memes."
Yeah,
And most of other games just like 5 years later, people are still going, "Man, that was a piece of shit."
I
Which
mean,
is going to be the case with like Redfall for sure.
yeah, I mean,
Also, not as good a game as The Last of Us, so that's
yeah,
people will feel a lot better about dunking on it.
yeah. I think people want from Xbox. It seems like they want the story-based AAA experience, not multiplayer. Even though you can play the game in single player, everyone says it's much fun, more fun with friends to play. That's what I've seen the positives for. So I think people just want that because that AAA experience from Xbox. The big sort of Last of Us sort of game, or the God of War sort of type. But even I think Phil said that it kind of like sort of maybe not directly said that Xbox can't really make those sort of games that PlayStation do at the moment. It's because it's such a shame, like what happened with the PlayStation, well, the Xbox One era, that seems to really hurt them. Xbox, PlayStation built a big sort of back catalogue of pretty good established IPs during that time, and Xbox is just sort of like still sort of reeling from that generation, which really hurt the brand, and still trying to come back. I mean, they have made like good fun games, different varied games, but I think everyone's still waiting for the big console seller. Even though like I don't think that
I mean,
even
Starfield is right around the corner.
yeah, but
That's going
yeah,
to be a big deal.
people people saying, oh, that's got to be a absolute a surefire hit. Um, you know, and we were saying that I still think it's going to be there's going to be bugs in it because it's a Bethesda game, so there'll still be bugs. And I just think, oh crap, even if there's like a slight like graphical glitch or bug, then people are going to jump on it. But I think Phil said like that. Even if we do release like a 10 out of 10 big selling game, it's not going to make people like stop playing or you know switch to Xbox. Which
Yeah,
I mean, like they still got so many titles coming out like in the works. It's just we're just waiting for them, and I can
yeah.
sort of still feel. I can see he'd probably be more hesitant to rush these things now, especially with the poor state of Redfall. He's probably like they're probably in the office now, going to the studios and having group meetings, to make sure if they need help,
They're going to get it.
you're gonna get it.
But yeah,
So
I mean, there's like what Phil was saying about like big like third person AAA action adventure games. It's not necessarily saying Xbox can't do that, but his point was more like Some people just want us to do exactly what Sony are doing, and they don't really see a path to success doing that, which is fair enough. Like, we should all want them to kind of do their own thing and sort of focus on their own strengths. If you're a fan of Sony's games, why are you going to go and buy an Xbox? Because they're putting out more or less the same stuff, but in like maybe in franchises you don't care about versus ones you do. And then his point about like 10 out of 10 games is, yeah, as you said, like even if we put out a massive banger, people aren't going to go and sell their PS5. So his comment there was sort of about mind share and market share, whereas like PlayStation's riding high. They've sold like tens of millions of PS5s already. People coming in from PS4 gen, which was already wildly successful. They're kind of locked into a degree, especially nowadays when more people are buying digital. And you can't do anything with those games. In the past, you could like, if you're like, oh, I'm going to switch from PlayStation to Xbox, you go and like sell your PS3 and all your games. Can't really do that now if you're all digital. Your games are just going to stay on your account. So if you get rid of your PlayStation 4, your PlayStation 5, those games are just sitting there doing nothing. You can't make any money on them or anything. So people are feeling more locked in these days. And yeah, I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do to kind of get to some level of success. But I think the point he was making is, probably not going to beat PlayStation on market share. And point I think he was getting at, a lot of people seem to have skipped over, is that don't necessarily have to beat Sony to do well. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not like that Kevin Chang picture. It's not enough that I succeed, others must fail. It's like everyone can succeed in their own kind of way. I think people have been taking that really disingenuously and been framing it as like, oh, Phil said games don't matter, so they're not going to make big games anymore. It's like, no, he didn't say that. Like, there's no way you can actually interpret that as that. So I can only assume you're trolling. But yeah, I mean, like, it was a very frank and honest interview. Like, he even mentioned that they lost the worst possible gen to lose, the one where it kind of moved more to digital and locked people in, and that's kind of really damaged them. And that's a good point. I think a lot of people don't really take into account when they just say, "Oh, just make good games and people will buy the system," because they can make good games, but people just won't buy the system because there's so many games. You got to kind of weigh your time as well. There's so many games out there now. I don't own a PlayStation 5. I have no interest in the PlayStation 5 just because, got more than enough to play on Xbox, PC, Switch if I ever pick the damn thing up again. It's just gathering dust over there. So it's like people can skip games a lot easier these days, even if it's something really good. They can just be like, got enough going on here, thanks. So it's not necessarily make it and build it and they will come, I think is the point he was making.
Yeah. No, I see. Yeah, I see that as well. People are very entrenched in, in what they like. And yeah, like I said, it was such a disaster of a launch for Xbox One that still hasn't recovered. I think it will take a whole new generation, because like we're old guys. You got the younger guys who came in, probably that PlayStation 4 was their first console. So you got to sort of appeal to the newer, like up and coming, like younger generation who have not got that sort of biases or like that loyalties to that particular hard piece of like hardware or brand, So that's what it probably will take a while. I mean, probably when we're like crippled old men, maybe then, like it's a shame that it's just they had the success of the 360 and then the botched launch of the Xbox One sort of really hurt it. And like there's people like looking back at the release, you had Rise or Son of Rome, which you look at that game, it's still a pretty beautiful
Still
game.
looks really good.
And people were clamoring for a sequel to that game, which I would be for. I mean, it's just a shame that they tried to market it was like a Connect game. Yeah, So, if it was a straight up action game, it would have done, I think, a lot better. But even
I mean,
then,
it was at the end of it. It was
yeah,
originally conceived as a Connect game,
but yeah, it had that the sort of taint of the Connect and also the taint of the launch. So it was fucked from from that. So yeah, it's a shame
it's
about
a
that.
decent game. It was
Yeah.
it was very much a like 6.5 out of 10 kind of game that could have had a really good sequel.
Yeah.
There's a lot they could have done with it.
I mean, like, when Xbox cancels spellbound
Scalebound.
scalebound, people like were all over Xbox for canceling that game. I think like if they did the same to Redfall, it would have been the same reaction. Like Xbox comes in and closes down creativity, a new IP. So yeah, it's you're damned if you do,
Yeah, I
you're
mean,
damned if you don't. Yeah.
some people are never gonna you're never going to win with some people.
Hmm.
There are going to be people that look for the negative in any way because there's console warriors out there on all sides. You just have to ignore those people because they're not sort of arguing in good faith.
Hmm.
You can't go out trying to please those people because you're not going to please them.
Indeed.
So you just got to do what you're going to do. Execute your strategy, put games out. I mean, they need to get into a position. I think they're getting there now where they're putting more games out on a more regular cadence. But they need to be good, and they have mostly been good.
Hmm.
It's like you said, like you get one dud and the sky's falling down.
Yeah.
But it's kind of impacting on everything because people are like, oh, Microsoft are getting a kicking right now because their acquisition's just been killed, and now their next game after that has come out, and people are killing that.
Hmm.
And to an extent, people are smelling blood in the water.
Yeah.
And on one side, you got people smelling blood in the water. On the other side, you got people that are probably a bit too invested,
Yeah.
like getting depressed about the acquisition maybe falling through, and then a game coming out bad.
Yeah.
And then thinking, oh no, the sky's falling. So you got people
Exactly.
on kind of all sides of the equation, just like overreacting.
Yeah.
Which is a bit. But I
Yeah.
mean, the showcase is in a month,
Yeah.
and
We'll see. Yeah.
they got a lot going on.
Cool. All right. So, according to some games journalists and media personalities in gaming, it's the end of the world for for everyone. The seas will boil and sky will fall down, and that's how.
Showcase is going to come around, and Phil's going to come out on stage and go,
Mm,
"You're looking forward to Avowed and Fable and Perfect Dark because they're all cancelled.
everything's cancelled.
We're done."
They show a trailer of Hellblade 2, and then they go, "You would like to play it, but we've just cancelled it." But
We've sent an update out to all your Series X's, and they no longer function.
well, that was the thing that people thought was going to happen. They took that they took the what was it the what was it, the always online or something like that. They took that off, and
24-hour check-in.
yeah, and they were like, well, they could just switch it back on again. I was like, yeah, that's really going to be really good for the brand if they did that. And I was like, okay, but let's talk about something positive because, like, yeah, it's a badly reviewed game, but people have that. I mean, look at Forspoken. That came out like to poor reviews.
It's pretty much in the same ballpark as Redfall. It's like 1 or 2 points above it on Metacritic, I think.
Yeah, and people, don't say it's the end of Sony. I mean, they also had like Days Gone, which reviewed poorly, even though a lot of people like it. It's just you have like bad titles.
I think everyone has good and bad, and I think the issue a lot of people are kind of overreacting because Microsoft hadn't like cracked the 90 barrier other than like the Forza Horizon games.
Mm.
But I mean, it's getting harder to hit a 90. Feels like a lot of people are starting to use more of the review scale rather than just 7 to 10. So like anything in the 80s is like a really good game these days. Honestly, that's where most very good games are sitting. And then like you get the occasional exceptional one that cracks 90, and I think that's what people want to see from Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just like PlayStation, Microsoft. I mean, look at the last like Pokemon game from Pokemon's just been released in a broken state, and people just don't seem to get it. They're not making an issue. They're like, yeah, it's a bit broken, but it's you know,
broken. It looks
yeah,
absolutely horrendous,
it
but
looks
it's
like
still
shit.
Pokemon.
It's still Pokemon. So Nintendo are just happily working away, releasing like shit
Man, we're gonna
Pokemon
see what
games.
kind of a state Tears of the Kingdom is in a week. I'm like, I
Playing on
really
that
don't want
hard
to.
way, on that
Yeah, I
old
really
hard.
don't want to play that on a in launch
Mm,
day Switch. I mean, not that
mm,
there's any other Switch out there; they're all basically the same thing.
mm,
But do I want to play that at like 480p at 20 FPS?
mm. Yeah, yeah.
I just hope it runs acceptably.
I mean, let's see what the reaction is going to be to that. You know, nowhere near as the end of world stuff that Redfall has generated. But let's move on from that, man. Like, because I don't want to end this on the negative because there's a lot of positives. You know, Game Pass is doing well. People blame the poor performance of Redfall on Game Pass for some reason.
Well, listen, some people are thinking with sand.
It was sand here. Oh, jeez. I was like, how are you making this connection? How's that bad?
Because they'll make any kind of connection they can, because the vast majority of people saying that are console warriors. And again,
Mm,
it's not worth really giving them any attention over the dumb things they say.
mm-hmm,
Console warriors on any side, by the way. I'm not just
mm,
saying like PlayStation fans suck.
mm.
There are platform warriors for every platform. Even, I mean, man, I remember when Windows Phone was coming out, and I used to look on like Engadget and The Verge and stuff just to sort of like see. Um, Back when I cared about mobile phones, and now I'm just like, oh, I got a phone, it works, who gives a shit? But the fucking Apple and Sony, not Sony, the Apple and Android, Apple and Google smartphone wars were just as fucking stupid. There's just, you'll find like idiots for anything out there, and it's best just to ignore those people, to be honest.
People like to fight over tech, which
Or football
or
or
football.
religion, it's just, it's human nature to a degree, but it's no less fucking stupid.
Mm.
Like, you can kind of overcome your base urges to go out and like beat people on the street.
Do you have
Maybe.
that urge? I never get that urge. Never get the urge to go, you know what, I'm just gonna fuck this guy up.
Well, I'm just saying, like, we have these sort of like base urges that we kind of, we don't have that anymore because we've kind of moved past that. But people are still incredibly tribal for over stuff that really doesn't matter.
Yeah. I watch a football game and then my team lose. I get a bit angry and annoyed because you don't who likes to lose. But I don't go, you know what, I'm gonna go out and beat and smash some heads in. Well, I just like, oh well, yeah,
And
lost.
it's the same with
Uh,
like people that support the team who's like your rival. You're not like sitting there
mm,
thinking, oh, those people are scum.
mm, gonna burn their
So I
house
just
down.
like something different. Like,
Yeah.
I think Tottenham are terrible and nobody should support them. But if people want to do that, it's up to them.
Yeah, Millwall can fuck off as well. But anyway, we're going to talk about the positive. We got you got Starfield coming out soon. You got the Xbox showcase, and Phil has said that you they got some games to show. Starfield has been looked at a lot because
Yeah,
obviously.
directly after.
Mhm. So let's end on that, man. Like let's end on some positives. Like, so what do you think they're going to show at this at the show Xbox showcase? Obviously, we know what they're going to show at the Starfield showcase, but what are they going to show?
They're going to show that Morrowind remake, right?
Yeah,
At
Morrowind.
the Starfield Direct.
Is it?
No,
Oh, I don't know.
it's just Starfield, is it?
Yeah, it's just Starfield.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were just being sarcastic or something
I
there, but
was, yeah. I'm just
yeah,
being silly.
yeah, your
Uh,
deadpan delivery is getting more deader.
but no, like Phil Spencer on the Xcast, he was like, yeah, we'll have new reveals. We'll show stuff that people want to see. Because obviously there's games they went through a spate of just announcing a load of stuff with like title cards that a lot
Yeah.
of people were like, well, show us gameplay. Like Fable, we don't really know what Fable is going to be like yet.
Mm.
Obviously, it's a wholly new team making that.
Yeah.
Avowed, we only have like that CGI teaser for that.
Mm.
So we don't really know what it's going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people were expecting it to be like Obsidian's Elder Scrolls, but they're a smaller developer, so I don't think it's going to be quite that. So what is the scope going to be of Avowed? Perfect Dark, what are we looking at here? The thinking seems to be kind of like sort of if Mirror's Edge had more guns, gadgets and stuff, because they seem to be going in on like the parkour and like the movement and stuff, judging from what they've sort of said around it. But we haven't seen any of these games, so we need to see some stuff. Announcing new stuff is good. I want to see that too. We always like new announcements, but they need to start showing the stuff that's been in development for years that we haven't actually seen yet. But I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a good show because they do have a lot to show, and it is about time they started showing it. So I think they are going to start showing stuff.
Yeah, I think like, it's just like you said, people know that there's a lot of games in development, and they brought a hell of a lot of studios and a lot of talent, and there's people cooking. I think people like maybe people are hoping for like a remake of like Fallout New Vegas, something like that. They want a surprise, and they could announce like a remake of an old favorite, an announcement or some kind. Obviously, they don't have to show anything for a new announcement. They don't have to show anything there. They can just have like the title show up or something like that. Off of an old IP or a dead IP that they're bringing back. You could do that, but that's good. That could be left to the last. But we want to see stuff that's been in development for like what 3 or 4 years now. So yeah, like obviously the Fable. I mean, he did say that. Did he say that it was Avowed or Fable that he's seen the build for it?
I think he mentioned Avowed, didn't he?
Yeah, so maybe we'll see something like that early game, like pre-alpha or something like that gameplay. Just something, Even people don't like CGI trailers, but I wouldn't mind seeing a CGI trailer and then with some cutting of like clearly stated that this is not the final gameplay, final state of game. Just show something. So what people really want to get hyped for, man. I mean, like the buzz is that we know that Xbox have got a lot of games in development. They just want to see them now, and it'll be good if there was like a couple of surprise announcements, remake of like I say, classic IP, dead IP, bring something back, a sequel to something. There's been some rumors swirling around, or people just hoping. I mean, I don't want people to get too like this is what happens sometimes when people get too
over enthusiastic,
get too
expecting the moon on a stick.
Get too like just keep your expectations to a minimum, but do expect something. I mean, I hope that it's not too much development talk, interviews. Just want a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, they don't typically do that in their like E3 time show. That's kind of, I feel like they have the developer direct now, which was very successful. And I think they need to do that more. And if they want to sort of dive deeper with the developers, that's the thing to do it at. They should definitely do that more. But yeah, the E3 type shows, they usually just kind of, if they have a developer on it, it'll just be sort of like introducing a demo or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, for new announcements, I reckon we could maybe see what In Exile are working on, because they're meant to be working on a big, ambitious RPG in Unreal Engine 5. Something that Brian Fargo has been around the industry for a long time, is excited about. So I'm excited to see what they're doing. Compulsion as well. Compulsion have always kind of not quite been there on the gameplay front, but they're very creative. Both Contrast and We Happy Few had a lot going on in terms of like world design and art design and everything. So I'd be interested to see what they can do with sort of the backing of like being a first party developer. But yeah, just show us the stuff that we want to see.
Just show us.
We've got a lot to show, so show some of it.
You got a lot. So that's what I think a lot of people getting a bit frustrated with.
Also, Hellblade 2 date.
Yeah, Hellblade 2 date. Yeah, let's just see it, man. I'm looking forward to it. But I got to temper my expectations. So I don't expect like how it was in one of the last ones where people go, "Oh, the Final Fantasy will be announced, 7 will be announced on Xbox, and blah blah blah, and this will be announced." A lot of like old IPs that we revived. So I was like, "No, don't do that because that's not true." I remember there
always be skeptical of the leaks and rumors.
Yeah, I remember someone had a leak of all the games that were being announced on Xbox. I was like, "Yeah, this is bullshit, man. This is a bit." too much. Maybe like we get some word from Kojima about the game he's working on with Xbox.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we all forgot about that, didn't we? Maybe some announcements from some Japanese developers, but I don't think there will be because they've been focused.
Square Enix out on stage like, we fixed it, guys.
Yeah, I don't think they will, but it would be nice. Obviously there'll be some announcements for for Game Pass games being released on there. But we'll see. It'll be exciting. I'm always excited when I hear this. And obviously with E3 gone now, we got to sort of get hype for these small developer showcases and stuff like that. So yeah, looking forward to it, man. And you can, I think we're gonna leave it there, but you can join us on I'll be live streaming out on Twitch. Mr. Raw will be joining me on via Discord.
It'll be very high energy, I promise.
Yeah. Drink some Red Bulls or something, man. But yeah, he will join us there on our Twitch channel again with Chums, all one word. Join us there. And we'll have some round of a few cold ones. We'll be talking bollocks. Join us. We'll start a bit early, probably about 20 to 5, just to settle in and everything like that. So we're not just having to rush around. Join us at about 20 to 5 UK time. Join us for that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You can get this podcast on most podcast platforms: Spotify, Amazon Audio, Audible, YouTube, and everything apart from Apple Music, because you got to pay for that.
Fuck suck that. It, Apple.
Suck that.
Android forever.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again on the flip side. Bye bye. Dun, dun.